Let us continue with a single-player campaign. One of them, anyway. We are clearing out the Near East, and I've already won a single time on the Master, as the Egyptians. Now the time has come to continue as the Mycenaeans. Right, from the Mycos island? Not the Mycenaeans. They're not Mycenaeans, they're the Mycenaeans. Which I believe is a tribe more ancient than the ancient Greeks. In fact, if the ancient Greeks were to look back, and presumably they did look back, they would consider these guys their ancestors. The High Kings of Mycenae are the terror of the Aegean. Heroes leap at their command. They're easy to play, so hopefully, presumably, I should be able to manage them on Master. It might get a smidgen more difficult further down the line, but on Medium it still should be manageable. I'm not sure about Hard and Very Hard. I might want to turn the difficulty down a bit, especially when I transition to playing the Canaanites. Once again, not the Canaanites, the Canaanites, from Canaan. But for now, I am playing as the Mycenaeans. They are expansionist, which means they start out with 20 units of food, 25 units of wealth, a whopping 30 units of science. Flag cost 1 more unit of food, which is annoying, because we would like to expand everywhere, but... also flag technologies... Can I read? Flags... After the plus sign, flags cost 1 less food, 1 less unit of food, it's cheaper. And flag technologies cost 2 science less, and we have 30 units of science. So let's just get flag techs, get to flagging, and expand quickly, since they are expansionist. That's kind of the point. I think it's fairly obvious that the advantage, as far as this faction is concerned, is in flagging. And when is it the most beneficial to flag? Early on in the game. Because further down the line, you can't really flag things because you can't flag what belongs to the enemy. You can only take over what belongs to another. Meaning that other than flagging early on, as things are still in flux and this territory remains unclaimed, you can only flag territory if an empire collapses, or if a portion of it gets severed because another portion of it gets taken over. Then the remaining bit of the territory with no cities in it becomes no man's land and can be claimed again. But outside of those rare circumstances, it's mostly an early game thing. So we will have an early game advantage, meaning that I need to start playing aggressively. The wealth technologies, however, are going to be more expensive, 25% more expensive, and reducing waste is going to be a whopping 30% more expensive. That's particularly unfortunate because I love reducing power waste. And then I like pumping power with that reduced waste. That is not going to be easy. But I might still make up for it with all the resources I'm going to gobble up as I quickly and aggressively expand. Before I begin, I should also check the victory conditions. Those are very important. They can be manually adjusted as much as I want. I can add or remove crowns to a particular objective as much as I please. I think it goes all the way up to 5, should I choose that. I can also adjust the number of victory points that have to be accumulated in order to win. And if I don't want to do that manually, I can randomize. So what does the edit button do exactly? Oh, it just shows these. Fair enough. Oh, and I can, of course, play to the very bitter end without involving any victory points, but that's... I'm tempted to say that that's no fun. It's not particularly fun. It's quite tedious. Not as tedious as an ordinary Fall X, I guess, but it still takes an exorbitant amount of time compared to a usual session of Ozymandias, so it's a jarring experience. Either way, these are the victory conditions. There's accumulation of wealth for 3 crowns, spaces on the map for 120. As an expansionist faction, I might possibly be able to manage, though this is really, really difficult. Even at a single crown most of the time. At 3 crowns, it sounds next to impossible, especially without conquest. And if I try to go for this, with conquest, another faction might just win in some other fashion. 3 crowns for 18 points of power. The AI have a tough time acquiring this because they don't get opportunities. And further down the line, you get quite a few opportunities that allow you to pump power to enormous extents. Including, chiefly among them, the barracks opportunity, which allows you to not only reduce waste on power. Well, if you reduce waste as much as you possibly can, you also get a bonus to accumulating power for the wealth expended. So you can acquire quite a bit. Now, of course, the upside for AI is that they will be getting all those permanent bonuses that I'll display in a moment. For 2 crowns, there's captured cities, armies, fleets, city pop, and then there's power technologies for a single crown. Those are usually the easiest things to get. And that is 4 victory points on its own. So most factions might get city pop, armies and fleets, and then we'll just have to save up wealth in order to get 7 victory points. That's the easiest way to go about things. The idea of acquiring both power and wealth at the same time borders on impossibility. You're not gonna get that. You would have to first accumulate so much wealth that you can easily pump power to 18 without falling below 800. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to pump power that high, considering the rate of its attrition, while still generating some wealth to get to 800. It just doesn't happen at the same time. We're playing on Master, so there's the flat bonus to wealth, plus 20 wealth per turn for every single AI, and plus 20% wealth from whatever they get. You could call this starting anew, however, I have won as the Egyptians on this map. I'm just continuing on, playing as the Mycenaeans. I want to win with every single faction on every single map. And so far, I have 3 regions remaining, including this one. And as far as this region is concerned, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 factions remaining out of the 8. I have the Egyptians done, so I'm playing as the Mycenaeans, increasing the difficulty level of factions, while playing on the same difficulty level. I'm playing increasingly difficult factions while playing on the same highest difficulty level for now. Playing on Master. Playing easy factions on Master for now. Alright then, since as I've mentioned we are expansionist, we have extremely cheap flag decks and extremely cheap flagging, I might as well invest heavily in that right here, right now. Flagging the sea at the very beginning, of course, is highly useless. What are you gonna do with that? Of course, getting plain flag decks is also going to be a questionable choice, considering the circumstances. What am I supposed to flag? The only things nearby that I can flag are some grasslands over here, a forest, islands, some sea tiles, some hills. Hills are the most promising of the bunch, so we'll go for them. And then we'll go down flagging all the islands. The cheaper flagging of hills, I might as well flag both of these tiles. I will therefore get all the wealth off of them that I can. What do islands give me? They give me 1 unit of each of the things. Now, river tiles give 2 food. Grassland tiles just give me wealth and food. So it's significantly better to flag an island. However, islands are more expensive to flag, so I also need to take that into account. How much is that in total? That's 10. I think it's still worth it. Let's take these. Obviously, I cannot get flag tags for things I don't have flagged at all. So if I have 0 units of something, I cannot acquire the flag tag. Thus, as I flag these silly little grassland tiles, I'll be able to flag, I'll be able to get grassland flag tags further down the line. I mean, you can look at it from that perspective, but then again, some region had to, didn't it? By pure chance, and then we'll be wondering about that region. One thing I am contemplating at this particular point is whether I should flag a single island, because if I don't, I will not have the opportunity to get island flag tags further down the line. So I'm taking this back. Hold on. Let's make flagging mountains cheaper. That is fine. Let's also flag a single island over here. This hill, that's expensive to flag. I'm left with 10. Fine, let's go with this. Seems fairly reasonable. Also, of course, the argument could be put forth, and might as well, out of a sense of responsibility, mention that you look at it this way and you figure that Greece was so important. Well, it wasn't the only important region in the world, was it? We could also look to China. Quite a civilized place. And one would argue civilized earlier. And then, of course, there's India. My goodness, the history of India, that's something. It can arguably teach us a thing or two. Not that I know that much about it. Free forest flag all nomadic tribes. Nomadic tribes is particularly tempting as far as this faction is concerned, because getting all those flag tags is particularly easy as far as this faction is concerned. As I have mentioned, it's one of the advantages we have. I still have to figure out the balance between actually musing on the sorts of things that spring to mind, and on the other hand focusing on the gameplay. But I think I'm doing relatively well. It's been so long, my goodness, it's been so many years, and I do believe I have gotten better at narrating. I do recall back in the day when I did not feel like I could possibly, maybe ever, actually commentate live. It would take such a toll on me. I figured I couldn't possibly do it. How could I improvise? And here I am. Not that I necessarily do it all that well, not that I play all that well, etc. I certainly understand that people who are native speakers would have an easier time, but yeah, all the same. Glad I got so far. You could argue about Europe in general. You could. I mean, as with most of these sorts of chaotic systems, it's such a complex matter. Ah, yes, I took nomadic tribes. Never mind. And I'm trading for food. Yeah, I barely get any food right now. I mean, we could hypothetically get into discussions on some sort of a special destiny for Europe. That would be pretty silly, wouldn't it? Not that there weren't, of course, philosophers out there claiming that there's a point to history. It was all pointing. It was all going in a particular direction. This or another. That's called historiosophy, I believe. 3 flags on grassland tiles to get all the grassland flag tags. Oh, I haven't gotten any grassland flag tags. Although that's silly because flag tags are cheaper for my faction. But yes, of course, I mean, I guess you could hypothetically argue what counts as important. But yes, I'm not going to be purposefully obtuse. I get it. Europe has certainly deserved its day in the limelight. Do I flag more islands? I think I do, because I want all those resources you get off of them, and of course you get one of each. Trade is an important question. Why shouldn't I get another flag tag? Should I get something else? And if I want to get that flag tag, then my goodness, presumably I should get it right here, right now. I'll be flagging quite a few islands in the near future. And if I am to do that, I could flag a single island for 2 and possibly flag something for 3 alongside it. No, because there's nothing for 3 in the region. It's obscenely cheap to flag this, but alas, it cannot effectively be done. Okay, fine, let's take this little island and make flagging things in the area cheaper. These are, of course, the Hittites? Yes, the Hittites. Yes. So these would be the Mitanni, the Assyrians, the Elamites, the Babylonians, the Canaanites, and these are the Egyptians. Still trading for food. But yes, arguing for the relative importance, I guess. I guess the important question would be why? Why? What exactly makes it so special? What happened here? And there are people who argue that there are all sorts of objective reasons for that. Now, unfortunately, I haven't read all these books, so I can only vaguely recall what arguments have been brought forth, and there are numerous ones. All the way from the distribution of natural resources down to climate. I'm not even kidding here. Oh, a temperate climate is really helpful. If it's too cold out there, too hot out there, it's just horrible, isn't it? If you have also arguments as far as access to natural resources is concerned. Build a city on an island for an island yield tech. Should get those yield techs eventually. Or I could just get about 10 science per city with a single city. But yes, if it's too hot or too cold, it might... Or if you have too many natural resources around, you might just be too lazy because everything is handed to you on a silver platter. So basically, from an evolutionary perspective, there's little point in putting in the effort. But then again, if the climate is harsh, if the area is inhospitable, you don't have the time, you don't have the leisure to just play around with ideas and so forth. Yes, I believe those are basically literally the arguments that have been put forth. What am I doing? No. Nomadic tribes and pack animals. I've almost made a horrible mistake. I'm going to get these for free, and that in itself is not going to proc nomadic tribes. However, if I get one more flag tech, I proc that. And how much science does that give me? I get 10 from this, 10 from that, so that would be 32. Can I buy anything with that? Anything useful? Most science out of island tiles, I guess. Can I even get 3 grassland tiles? I can flag these 2, but the third one is going to be a bit difficult to acquire, considering the competition from the Hittites. Might as well give it a whirl, but I have my doubts. Also, presumably I have to redeem writing so as not to lose out on an opportunity further down the line. Yes, and that'll largely be it, I'm afraid. There's not much more that can be done. Ah, yeah, you don't have to tell me about the assimilation of the neighbors. I have certainly heard of those attempts. And of course, this has been flagged by the Hittites. But there's a grassland tile over there. If that counts as grasslands, if that can still be flagged, thank goodness. And you could, of course, argue that because there were these disparate factions all competing, that based on this competition, what sprang up in all of this diversity, as you could say, in all of the variety and glimmering splendor, plenty of ideas arose. Oh, and possibly as they tried to define themselves and their existence in contrast to their neighbors. After all, if they were not to be particularly different, why would they not assimilate willingly? So, somewhat by necessity, they had to differentiate themselves. And out of this differentiation, and out of all these ideas, sprung forth, at some point, something creative. Because ultimately, if you throw ideas at the wall, some of them are going to stick. I don't know, I'm wildly speculating, and I have become significantly more distrustful of baseless speculation in the recent years. I can get at this grassland tile, so I presumably shouldn't get this. Although getting more science out of grasslands might be beneficial. I am 1 science point off from getting more off of islands. Ugh, fine. We are getting more science off of grasslands. Once again, that's every single turn. That's +5 for now. We just need to get all the way up there. Anything else? Not really. Okay, we're flagging this, and we are trying... What? We're trying to flag safe tiles? Presumably the Hittites will expand onto the islands. That's not something I want. But I don't want them... If I try to flag this and I fail, neither of us gets it, right? They don't have power in islands. Is it worth it to lose out on that contest rather than flagging something safe? I don't think it is. I could try to block them off, but it might be significantly wiser to just flag what I can. Get my hands on as many tiles as I possibly could acquire. And then soon enough after that, to prac nomadic tribes. How many sea tiles do I have? 3. Well, that's not a lot, is it? But I could get 12 units of science right off the bat instead of losing the next opportunity, which means I could have gotten that science off of islands this very turn. If I don't proc it now, it is going to go to waste, isn't it? Hold on, fine, let's redo this. Map making, and I basically have to proc it. Missing out on opportunities is highly unfortunate. Which brings me all the way up to 41. What do I want to spend this on? I would love to be able to get more wealth. Unfortunately, there's a little benefit to that. I could get more power in islands securing this. Let's do that. Power in islands. Flag this island tile alongside the mountains over there to reach the grassland tile in order to finally redeem pack animals. And the 31 points I could spend on wealth off of hills. Wealth is quite precious. I could hypothetically get even more science. That's 6. That's not meaningless. Certainly like more. Yes, I clearly would. Alas, alas, I'm not able to get enough to next turn be able to get, say, wealth off of islands, which would be splendid. My wealth income also isn't particularly impressive, so I might as well just get wealth off of hills right here, right now, as much as I would love to invest in science almost exclusively. Those 3 units of wealth can go a long way towards helping me flag. Alright, let's go with this. See how that plays out. Look at all those flags going down, and of course the Assyrians have the army deployed right there, though they are not threatening enemy territory quite yet. But of course, being so bellicose, that's what they're doing. Ox-drawn plow for 2 food per island tile, and I have 8 of those, so that's 16. Or I can get expedition. No. Let's get the plow. Immediately proc this to get 16 food out of it. Flag this to immediately proc nomadic tribes. Actually, to proc pack animals, procking nomadic tribes in the process. No, I need 1 more flag tech. Let's start out with the sea. Start out with the sea. Flagging this procs pack animals, which procs nomadic tribes, which gives me resources. Excellent. We'll be flagging the sea, but of course we need yields off of the sea, and yields off of the sea are particularly, unusually, annoyingly expensive. Of course, wealth yield tax are particularly expensive for my particular faction, which is unfortunate, but that's the way things are. What do I even want, if anything? I'm so glad I got this little island tile. Having all this food allows me to expand, making flagging in the region cheaper. Might not be the worst of ideas. I do like the idea of emanating power and having some sort of an outpost over here on an island. I don't think so. It's not really based on time. It's not a grand strategy game. It's more of a 4X, so you just get maps with the various bits of terrain. So you mostly get places rather than times. Alright. We've got a brand spanking new city over here, and now let's just flag whatever's left to be flagged. Mostly these little island tiles. that are also beneficial to have. Animal yields that I can possibly get. Anything. What on earth do I even want? I could trade for science hypothetically. How would that benefit me? I can save up and get science of violence next turn. That'll be a decent chunk of science. I could also get... I could make flagging the sea easier. But once again, there's so much science necessary in order to be able to get any yields off of that. And before that happens, you literally get nothing of your sea tiles. Other than a silly opportunity to deploy fleets. Which I should also look into in the future. I will need an army. If I don't deploy one soon, I might just get steamrolled. Alright, armies are being deployed by various factions here. The Hittites deploying the army, the Mitanni, the Egyptians. No army for the Elamites so far. Galleys place 3 flags on the sea to get all the sea flag ticks. All... 2 more cities and islands for an island power tech. Not really worth it at this stage. Not really worth it at all. That many... islands. Would I really want to fortify all the island tiles? Wouldn't it be the worst of ideas? I guess. Galleys. I guess I'll refuse to buy sea flag techs and we'll just get them for free. Expending resources a decent bit initially, flagging those 3 sea tiles. Let's get more science off of every single island. And possibly finish up flagging whatever there's left that's not a sea tile. Because at least these give me decent yields. The sea tiles give me basically nothing. At least initially. Yes, they are annoying like that. I have 3 units of food left over, one of which will go to waste. Waste is quite an unfortunate mechanic, but of course it serves its purpose. And of course, my faction is particularly atrocious at trying to stop waste. If I save up some wealth, a decent chunk of it, I can deploy an army next turn, and presumably I ought to. Though I'm not sure, should I really mess with the Hittites? How much power do they have? Not that much, at least not in here. Not in this region. I presumably should just continue to expand, but let's deploy a single army. All things considered... Told you, the Hittites have just swooped into the west. I guess they see me as an easy target. Well... They underestimate my power. These are all the hills I'll be able to get early on, so might as well take this and immediately claim it. To get 12 all the way up to 64. Let's deploy an army right there. Ugh, the movement. Moving across islands, of course, is costly. We are, after all, a Bronze Age civilization. They have a rough time moving there. They see the Aegean Sea as the natural frontier. That does make perfect logical sense. And I am quite afraid I am beginning to flag the sea. Usually that ends up being a single faction with all the sea tiles under its control, because flagging the sea is annoying. You can hardly extract anything off of those sea tiles. You really have to double down on extracting resources off of it. But of course, if you're the only faction with sea tiles and you extract resources off of the sea, it's highly beneficial. I'm tempted to say that I'm destined to be such a faction, but then again, there is no destiny involved. I will have to make a conscious effort in order to make that the case. And of course, if I want to defend myself, and I do, I am going to have to pump power at least a bit to stop the Hittites from taking over my territory. As you can see, they have +1 power from attack and 2 from a unit. So that's 3. And my power over here is just 1. I need at least 3 points of power to stop them. And I have to pump power as much as I possibly can in order to make that happen. I don't like it, but it constitutes a necessity. Let's see if I even manage to defend. For all I know, they might decide to go elsewhere. For all I know, they might change their minds. But we shall see. Please go away. 3 versus 3, I defend. Do I also threaten? No, I do not, obviously, because they match my power. A free island flag, all migration. Place 10 flags in a turn. That is not gonna happen. Let's proc the hardy scout immediately. I could hypothetically try to threaten the territory of the Hittites, but I presume that would end poorly. Oh, and you cannot end your turn. That's interesting. You can't actually leave an army on an island. I don't think you can do that with a fleet either, which makes islands a particularly nasty and interesting type of terrain. But yes, hopping across islands is particularly difficult. And they're impossible to fortify with units. Curious. You can build cities over there, of course. You frankly ought to, but as it should be. You can't put an army on an island. It's unseemly, right? Well then. Right, what do I want? I think I want food out of grasslands. 6 units of food every single passing turn sounds like a reasonable idea to me. Yes, give me all those chickens, or whatever that may be. I don't think I should pump power further. Now, of course, they may begin to threaten if I unpump power, but I would rather get something else. What would that be? Can't quite get a fleet. I could trade for science like crazy, and I do mean crazy, and try to get sea yields. It's not going to be easy, but if I do that a turn or two, I might possibly get something under my belt. Takes a lot of resources to ship an army to an island and keep it supplied. That does make perfect logical sense. And let's not forget, this is the Bronze Age. They don't have the tech for much of anything. Galleys have procced. So quite a few things in this game are justified, even in terms of mechanics. They're justified historically. For instance, there are sea tiles you cannot possibly flag as the sea. And I used to think that that was very contrived, but then I've read the explanation. No, those sea tiles are deep sea tiles, and these are Bronze Age civilizations. They can build little boats, but they can't navigate waters that are that deep. It's just too volatile for them. They can't handle it. It does make perfect logical sense. They can kinda navigate waters to an extent, but there are limits to that. Alright, I think I'll be saving up science. If I could hypothetically get those additional 12 points, that would be absolutely brilliant. Plenty of this will be going to waste, and there's very little I can do about that. But, so be it. Mediterranean. Well, Mediterranean deep is fine. This is fine. But yes, deep sea tiles, they can't, for instance, navigate the ocean, really. I mean, I say really, but what about the Vikings and so on? Yeah, whatever. All island yield text to have movement cost across islands. That sounds particularly useful, doesn't it? All get the power tech. No. We take sailing. But of course, for that we need those yield techs, don't we? Granted, I do want those yields, and I do want them now, but I guess we might want to hold off a bit. Let's get more wealth every single passing turn. And see if I can get 100 next turn. I can! Okay, we trade 80% for this. The Hittites, by the way, have moved east. Even though, had they continued pumping power and had they stayed west, they would have threatened my territory. They would have made the situation quite uncomfortable for me. But they moved, which is glorious. Let's get 100 over here. Should I get more food in order to be able to flag more islands? Yes, sorry, islands. More sea tiles. And the answer to that is, of course, yes, please. Give me all of that. Lay it on me. This and that. And the other, of course. Let's get the cheapest ones first. And then possibly this one, why not? All the sea tiles. Once again, for now they're useless. For now, but what should I even get off of them? Science or food? Possibly food to begin with to flag more sea tiles. And then of course I'll get a fleet. And things will become interesting. Alright, let's end the turn. Once again, I do need to remember that my objective over here is to collect crowns, is to collect victory points, not to conquer. Having a big... By the way, look at all the... Whoa! That was a destroyed army right there. Minus star, that means that a land army just got obliterated in the scuffle. And that happens very rarely. The only condition under which this occurs is if it wants to retreat, but it has no tiles to retreat. But that was brutal. In this game, losing a single army can essentially be a death sentence for your entire civilization. Which once again makes sense. These are Bronze Age civilizations. They can't muster up too much of a force. All of these things are extremely volatile. All sea yield text to have movement cast across the sea. All philosophy. It always pains me to reject philosophy on a personal level, but alas, alas, what can I do? Alright, let's get food off of the sea. We're going fishing. 15 units every single passing turn. Let's also stop trading for science. I'm sorry. And we will now just continue to hold wealth. Because that's what we need. Oh, by the way, remember last time you've mentioned that, hey, hypothetically, the Mycenaeans over here could just land on our shores when I was playing as the Egyptians? Well, I can get over there myself right now. I can pester the Egyptians personally. And you know what? I believe I should. But let's also flag these cheap tiles. Might as well get the 5-1. Yeah, sure, why not? I don't have any power at sea, so should the Hittites choose to contest this, it would just... Actually, it wouldn't fall into their hands. They don't have power there, and I have more tiles surrounding, so no, I win the tiebreaker. And of course, after I have gotten this, I will be receiving the benefits of that every single passing turn. Until the end of the game. I would like to get more science out of those tiles, but alas, alas. I can't quite do everything all at once now, can I? I just need one more island yield tech to have movement cast across islands, and that is something I'll get soon enough. And I think I'll transport this army all the way to the south to mess with the Egyptians. Fancy that! The Hittites have deployed 2 armies over here and are messing with the poor Canaanites. Look at them, oh. The Canaanites are holding strong over here to the east, but unfortunately are being obliterated. The territory is gobbled up by the Hittites. They could field large armies, they were hard to organize and to rout when in danger, which is why chariots were so powerful. It does make plenty of sense. From what I recall, what made Roman armies so wonderful was logistics and engineering. All of those supply lines they have managed, and the level of bureaucracy they were able to reach. The fact that the armies were really professional. They weren't just haphazardly organized warriors. No. They were disciplined. They were disciplined soldiers. It's tempting to say that it was the Wild West, but it literally wasn't the Wild West, was it? Discipline and organization. And yet, once again, to our ears it sounds so pathetic. What made them so awesome? Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy made them awesome. The fact that... But on the other hand, bureaucracy is also something that was absolutely present in China. My goodness, was the bureaucracy there. And of course, this is all hardly surprising because yes, there were so many factions out there in real life that wanted to fashion themselves after the Roman Empire. Okay, choice between the calendar and Annus Mirabilis. I always want to proc Annus Mirabilis, but it can be quite difficult, can it not? I'm not going to proc sailing and celestial navigation on the same turn, forget about it. But can I actually get calendar? If I get science off of the sea, I very well may. 45. It's going to be difficult because that's 27 in total, and I would have to also, what, reduce waste or something? Can the calendar even be procced at this point? Or is Annus Mirabilis a better chance at getting anything? I genuinely don't know. It's promising to try and get this, and all this does is reduce waste. So I don't quite know. Although, the gift of waste reduction is quite valuable to my faction. Considering the fact that I have such a rough time reducing waste as it is. Granted, getting wealth off of every single city is not a bad idea either. It's a one-time benefit, of course, but still worth it. I'll stick with the calendar, I guess. And of course I need to proc something so as not to lose an opportunity. Oh boy. Yeah, so as not to lose an opportunity next turn. I don't think I really can. I can't quite get more food out of islands. Not this turn. Not yet. Well then, in that case, I guess I shall invest in something else entirely, shall I? Not. I could get power techs. Power at sea in particular could be quite valuable. Obviously, I want all those precious sea tiles. I don't know. I think I might want to... Hold on. No. What if instead I choose to save up science and get more seals next turn? I would have to trade for that, sure, but that's still worth it. 30%? Save up what's there? Maybe reduce waste a bit. Annoying though it may be, but then I won't be able to deploy an army or a fleet. What's the strength of the Egyptians? It's reasonable. I could hypothetically build a neat little city over here. I won't be able to flag tiles over there then. Though I would certainly like to. However, that city and the ability to deploy a fleet all the way over there, I think in the long run is going to be quite beneficial. So let's do that. Immediately deploy a fleet and put it right there, threatening the Egyptian territory. Let's also pump up the power to 2. Wait a minute. Of course, that means that I am dealing... I have less wealth. Now I can no longer trade to get 100 next turn, which of course derails all of my plans. Fine, let's just pump power fully all the way up to 2 and try to get more science. No, hold on. Hold on. Let's get more science seals off of grasslands. Now can I possibly get up to 100? No. Not by any stretch of the imagination, no. Very well, I'll just get something else. I'll have 68 units of it, so I'll get more food off of islands. That's a good idea. And of course I can't proc anything over here. I'll miss out on a single opportunity, or we'll replace one of them. And the Hittites have traveled all the way to the west to pester me. And they do threaten me, including a single island tile. That is quite annoying, but what can I do? Conquer a desert space for 50 wealth, proccing the caravansary. Or get the goldsmith to keep on getting gold every single passing turn. I think I'll pick the caravansary over the calendar. And oh my goodness, I think... How much power do the Egyptians have? 2 on a unit. If I keep on pumping power, I think I should be able to take over this desert tile. They could try to swoop in, obviously, but they're going to have a rough time of it, because they would have to travel through the desert, which is quite costly. Actually, out of curiosity, you can park a fleet on an island, so there's that. So if I want to defend this little island tile, I have to park my fleet over there. Otherwise, the Hittites are going to at least get this little island tile. But I think it's more important to mess with the Egyptians right now. Even though the Hittites are firmly in second place. With me in fourth. Right, let's get more food off of the islands, proccing this. Making movement across islands cheaper, thank goodness. We are pumping power fully. Oh, and of course, because of all the yields, obviously, we are going to keep on flagging all those sea tiles. I love how melodic the flagging is. So cute. And once again, this is not pointless anymore. I am getting food off of every single one of these tiles. And that translates into a number of things. Will this be worth it? Will the Hittites swoop to the east instead? Please swoop to the east. Please leave me alone. Nope. Oh my god. They have so much power. 6 power. They're going to kick me off of both of these tiles. But I did proc Caravansary, giving me 50 wealth for conquering the desert tiles. Messing with the Egyptians. Druids or the Harvest Festival. Grow all your cities in a single turn. That costs a lot of food. I don't think I can afford that. Though it's not important. Fine, let's get the Druids. Can I proc the Druids? Will that work? Might very well work. I could get more wealth off of grasslands, but no, let's proc the Druids. And benefit every single subsequent turn. Now, I do believe I should unpush over here. Defend against the Hittites. I could hypothetically get more units, which I think is a smarter idea overall than just pumping power. Pumping power, as I have mentioned previously, can lead to a horrible, horrible death spiral. Also, I do believe I ought to use my science eventually to get power techs, and those power techs should be power at sea on one hand, even though I'm not contested there too much, but more importantly, power in islands. I do want those islands for myself. I will have to retake them to an extent, some of them. I really should invest in them. If I invest in power in islands, I will essentially be unconquerable. They'll have a rough time contesting me at sea without any fleets, and they don't really have cities where they could deploy fleets. So that's one thing. And second of all, the only other tiles they could possibly threaten once they hit the hard border of land are going to be island tiles where they can't even put the units, so they can't push the attack. As long as I can defend those islands, I can defend everything. Which stands to reason. Do I deploy another army? Oh no, I do not. I deploy another fleet. And pester the Egyptians some more? Is that what I'm trying to do? No, let's instead defend over here, possibly putting some pressure on the Hittites. With 2 units over here, I should also put some pressure on this little grassland tile. We'll see how that plays out. If I unpump power, I'll be at 2. If I continue pumping power, I'll be at 4. Doesn't matter all that much. I don't think I desperately need to save up wealth for yet another army. Oh, and speaking of all of that, I can build a city all the way here in the desert, establishing a foothold west of the Egyptians. Glorious. I should, of course, obviously continue to flag all those sea tiles to get all those precious sea yields, and I will. Anything else? Not really. Moving on. I don't really care what's going on to the east, although possibly I should, because we are... Whoa! If the city's been conquered, what on earth happened though? There was too much stuff going on all at once, but the good news is I am threatening the Hittites on this tile and on that tile, but they are threatening me in the grasslands, which should hardly come as a surprise. They have this unit, this powerful unit, threatening the grassland tile there. The only reason I'm threatening the grasslands over here is because I'm threatening with 2 units all at once, and I'm threatening this island because they have no units there to affect it. My sea tile is threatened by the Egyptians all the way over here, but overall, I have ingressed into their territory, and they'll have a rough time kicking me out. So especially since I'm going to aggressively flag into the desert. What else can I do? I presumably should save up science in order to get further yields off of the sea. Oh, no threatened hexes for 1 turn. That's going to be difficult. The fruit orchard is somewhat tempting, but I don't know. Do I want to spend basically all my food this turn just to keep on getting more food? Or would I rather flag? I think I would rather flag. Brief Respite is really, really unlikely to proc anytime soon. But it will proc at some point. Once again, I could build cities, I could upgrade cities, but I do feel like flagging is more important. It is oh so important. Getting desert yields is also going to be crucial further down the line. Most of all, I shouldn't spend too much science this turn. I think I should spend nothing, absolutely nothing. Just wait until next turn, get seals, get wealth off of the sea. At that point, I'll be getting 31 units of wealth, more than I'm currently getting. I'm currently getting 50. Getting 31 more is going to be a significant boost. More than 50% of an improvement. And obviously there are other sea tiles for me to flag. I'll just try to get all of them. Every single last one of them. And on top of that, I can flag some desert tiles. Why not? Oh, and I can still move my fleet to defend over here. I could have hypothetically planned to move it over there to attack the island some more. I could have, but I didn't, and I think it's the right idea overall. Look at this situation. This army from the Hittites can either try to defend this tile, or can try to defend the... They actually can do both. They can move over here. But then they're no longer attacking this tile, which is fine by me. Oh, and should I unpump power? At that point, I'll have enough for another army, but I think I'd rather conquer. So let's conquer. Let's not spend any science, questionable though that may be, and let's see what happens. Look at me gobbling up all of those sea tiles. Now, the unfortunate part is that I defend over here, I take this, I take that, and I lose that single tile. Oh! And just like that, my army has moved from this tile onto that tile. I see that as a bit of an improvement, I guess. The unfortunate part is that the Canaanites have expanded over here onto an island, and I really don't want to take territory away from them. I don't want them to get squeezed out. I'll grant some power, some territory to some other faction, and I want the Canaanites to survive for as long as they want as a buffer state. They haven't... I don't know, man. They have taken territory over here that used to belong to the enemy, and the enemy has taken territory over there which used to belong to me. So we've swapped tiles effectively. Count it as whatever you want to count it. What do we take? Swords to plowshares? It's almost never worth it. All Academy, reduce knowledge waste. I'm dreadful at reducing waste as a faction. Just absolutely abysmal. Okay. Well, can I hit the Hittites? I swear it wasn't intentional, but once again, it tends to happen with me from time to time. I can attack them over here. So it's the plowshares, iconic Magic the Gathering. Is it? Is it though? My goodness. I'm tempted to say, oh, presumably it's reasonably new, but for all I know it isn't. I guess my knowledge of Magic the Gathering is severely limited. I do apologize for that. Alright, let's get wealth of the sea. 39 units of wealth every single passing turn. Every single one. It's been around since Alpha. Great! Absolutely wonderful! So once again, should I have known? Should I have necessarily known? I'm not an expert at Magic the Gathering, as you might have, gathered. I don't know, a couple of the classic ones. I do know pacifism and the quote associated with it. That's one I like, but hey. I don't possess an extensive knowledge, I guess. Alright, here's the deal. I could try to take this and threaten that. Because all in all, they're going to take this tile away from me. I'm not sure if I want to ingress into... Actually, now that I look at it, the Hittites are going to swoop into the east to defend. So I'm going to take this basically no matter what. It's an easy prediction to make. So, let's go over here. I will have enough wealth to get an army or a fleet next... Actually, let's go down to 4. Save up to get another fleet. Actually, getting an army would be beneficial. Though I am pumping power, which is not the best of ideas, possibly. Well, now that I've realized it, should I stop pumping power? Is that the way to go? I genuinely don't know. Could build some cities, upgrade some of the ones I have. Ugh. Let's just flag everything I still can, continue flagging south. I should deploy an army over here and mess with the Egyptians. As you can see, I am nowhere near the spaces on the map objective. I have 72 tiles. I need 120. That's nigh on impossible to acquire. Now, thankfully, I have the wealth of the sea, which goes a long way towards improving my situation. What I should take is science off of the sea. I just need to trade a bit for that. Let's do it. Let's get those sea yields. They'll proc another thing for me. Should I move my army and mess with the Egyptians some more? Whenever I can, I presumably should mess with the Egyptians, shouldn't I? Fine, let's mess with the Egyptians a bit. That'll force them to move. Unless they want to threaten my desert, which they can. I'm not gonna say no to that. If they want to take my desert away and let me take those precious river tiles, then so be it. They would have to be in the Nile. Okay, fine, they have more power here, so they take that, and thus my progress will be impeded over there. Ha ha ha! Without pumping power, I take over this tile because I have predicted correctly that the Hittites would swoop to the east to defend. I was right all along. The courthouse is a tempting acquisition. More tempting than the academy, I would say. All hill yield text to make moving across the hills easier. I won't be moving across that many hills. The courthouse, however, seems worth it. Brief respite once again doesn't seem viable, annoying though this may be. And of course, proccing the courthouse is going to be annoyingly difficult. And of course it is. Isn't it always? I can move my fleet over here. That's... hold on. What am I doing? No. First, let's proc the final sea yield tech. Which procs this, making movement across the sea cheaper. There we go. We can move the fleet over here, helping defend. Let's pump power a bit to go all the way up to 3. Need 150 to get science of citizens. I'll get other yields, possibly desert yields, something like that. Right, and since I want to fortify over here desperately, I might as well grow this city. And with pressure from 3 units put on this single tile, I should be able to not only defend, but kick them out. How expensive is it to travel all the way to Egypt? Well, about 35 units of food apparently, so I shouldn't bounce back between here and there. Because the round trip is going to be particularly annoyingly expensive. Alright, let's do this. Will this work? Or will the Egyptians move elsewhere? Presumably they won't. I haven't even bothered trying to flag the desert. Presumably I ought to have. Oh, will they just kick me out? Do they have the power? They have 7 power. They did. Interesting. Hilltop Oracle for plenty of science. What would I even spend that science on? Possibly... yields right here, right now? What sort of yields? Power text would be nice. I'm tempted to get power in the desert. Whoa! Hold on. I have completely missed out on the fact that the Hittites are currently threatening me basically everywhere. As I have grown desperate to mess with the Egyptians, the situation to the north has gone pear-shaped. So what exactly am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to spend all that wealth on the Hilltop Oracle? Possibly spend all that science on politics? I get 75 science. That's quite a lot of science. Now I could get science of every citizen, and since I will be building cities, I guess they'll eventually add up. That's just 9 for now, every single passing turn. Shouldn't I instead get power tax? Or, I don't know, yields? Wouldn't be half bad. No, I'll get yields further down the line. For now, I need... Oh, this sounds like the worst line of reasoning I could ever conceive of. I should probably get yields as early as possible. Would be foolish not to. Especially well fields. Well, they are never to be rejected. If ever there was a desirable thing in this game, it's just eels. I know the well fields are particularly expensive for my faction, but it still doesn't really matter all that much. I still need to get them, and they are still worth it. Because ultimately, once again, that's money every single passing turn. And considering the situation, the absolutely desperately dire situation, I think I am going to need my fleets over there to defend. Lest I just get obliterated. Okay, and what on... if my fleet gets kicked out of there, if it fails to defend, it gets shunted onto land and obliterated. I don't think I want that to happen. But am I to just let them take over the territory? How much power do they have? The 5 from my unit, 1 from attack, so that's 6. If I go all the way up to 5, I'll have 8. Okay, let's play it somewhat safe. Forsake this single tile, fair enough, possibly this one as well. And hope they relent? Actually, it's just build a city over here, fortify, and try to flag this desert tile. Presumably it'll go to the Egyptians, but whatever, let's make an effort. I'm also threatening over here, that's fine. Let's move so I threaten more desert tiles. And see where this takes me. I could try to proc the courthouse, but yeah, let's not. That only applies if you don't spend your wealth and instead try to save it up. Of course they take this with 2 points, and I take that via conquest. Presumably I'll threaten all around. What about this territory here? Oh, okay, I lose those 2 tiles, but I retain anything that was defended by 2 units or more. And I threaten the single tile. Fair enough. Conquer plain space or double your city pop. I believe I can do that. Oh great, so the Egyptians are ingressing over here and I'm going south. Well, if they want to defend, they are going to have to join me over here. Also, I hate pumping power. I have mentioned this numerous times, it's the death spiral. So I should either get a unit right here, right now, or I should try to reduce waste. And I'm opting to get a unit. More conquest. Should I go to the west to make this easier on myself, or should I ingress deeper into Egyptian territory, threatening more tiles over here, possibly defending harder? Let's do it like this. Be bold. I could also attempt to fortify over here. Now this territory has been taken over, but it's not impossible to strengthen my position. Also, if I wanted to, I could hypothetically strengthen my position all the way to the south on Egyptian soil. I think it's smarter to bolster my defenses over here and defend myself against the Hittites. They seem to be a much greater threat. Let's see, now what else do I want? More yields in terms of wealth? As expensive as they are? I think so. 6 more wealth. It's nothing to sneer at, so let's not sneer at it. Not an appropriate attitude to have towards wealth. Do not sneer at it. That's not what it's there for. And let's also pump power the tiniest of bits. Nothing more I can spend my food on. Brief respite, of course, refuses to proc because I keep on getting threatened. I also not send my fleets all the way to defend against the Egyptians. What, for no particular reason? Because I want to fight the Hittites over here right now? Why not send the fleets to defend? It's the most logical choice. Can I even take this territory from the Hittites right here, right now? No, let's leave things be. Let's leave things be. Will the Egyptians move? That's an important question. Will they try to defend and in the process abandon the post over here? No, they will take this. They are at 9 power. Also, the Hittites have enough power so as not to get kicked out of their own territory, and they are now threatening me on land over here. Though granted, I'm kinda under turf. And if I get kicked out to the islands, my army will just get obliterated. Lose 5 spaces on the map, or all at once, to grow a city, or build a city on a forest for a forest yield tech. I don't want either of these to proc. I'm rejecting both. We have ingressed further into the desert. Yes, and the Egyptians have taken some sea tiles away from me. How lovely. As much as I love those silly little yields, I believe the time has come to invest in power techs quite heavily. Now, sea power is the most obvious choice, so that I can retake those sea tiles and reap the rewards. But power in the desert isn't a bad idea either. I could just get both. Of course, there's power in islands. Let's get 2 tiers of power in the desert. Just straight up power over there, no questions asked. Some power out at sea. And I'm afraid that's as much as it's gonna be. If I save up, I'll have 137 next turn, and not quite enough to get food off of the desert, not quite yet. Fine, let's get some wealth off of plains. 2 units every turn is better than nothing. Can I save up enough to have an army next turn? Yes, I can. I'll fall down to fall power, but still fall middle. And of course, I'm threatened here, but I can just reposition my fleets to secure this territory. Doesn't cost me that much food. Also, if I want to dig myself in, all I need to do is grow this city. That's it. A reasonably simple course of action. Granted, I would prefer to retake these tiles from the Egyptians. I would also love to take some territory away from the Canaanites over here, except that I really don't want to mess with the Canaanites. Not because I'm afraid of them, but because I pity them. I don't want them to suffer. I am saving up wealth to some extent. Maybe, just maybe, I should spend some of it to reduce waste, as horrifyingly expensive as it is for my faction. I can more effectively save it then. Still have enough for another army next turn. I do need to remember that I'm after victory points. And of course, not a single faction so far has acquired a single victory point. Oh, 10 power on the Babylonians. What on earth is going on over there? And of course, here's the conflict between the Hittites and the Mitanni. Brief respite has procced. I have not been threatened this turn. Hooray! I have acquired the money for that, and I can possibly proc the barracks opportunity. My favorite opportunity in the entire game. Hard One Piece is going to be rough. I think you should take Hard One Piece if you have fortified yourself really well with cities. That's not what I'm doing. The borders of my territory are really fluid. I think I'd rather take the barracks and keep on reducing power waste. Though, that's unlikely to happen, that's unlikely to work, considering the fact that I desperately want to acquire more and more armies instead. Fine, so let's get another army right here, right now. My power will go down all the way to 2, which is still not the worst situation. Let's position this army over here, and thus I am putting the Egyptians in a bind. I am threatening them in multiple spots. Continue the assault with my fleet over here and take the sea away from the Egyptians with this fleet right there. Can't quite fortify further here. Might as well build a new city, get 2 additional citizens in the region, further fortify in the desert. What am I acquiring? I could just get additional power techs. They would serve me well in my conquest, even though, once again, gotta remember it's not all about the conquest. But conquest is not a bad idea anyway. Helps me acquire territory, and if I want those 120 tiles, I'm going to need conquest, won't I? It's probably not gonna happen. It's more likely I'm going to get that final 7th army and fleet. Taken collectively, and then I'll just get my population up. Finishing up by saving up wealth. Actually, let's just do that. That sounds like the most reasonable course of action. Alright. So all I need to do at this particular juncture is to save up wealth, which I very well may do. get that army, spend the food on growing cities. That's about it. Possibly spend some of the money on food. Okay, the Egyptians effectively defend over here, but I take a single tile away from the Hittites, who are desperately defending against the Mitanni. Military drills to pump power, all the camel riders to pump power. Let's just wait. Oh no, my city is under siege. Well, that just won't do, will it? That just will not do. Wait, nope, hold on. I could place the fleet over here, that fleet over there, this army over here, that army over there. I can recruit another army, can't I? Should just get power in cities. That's the simplest way to go about these things. I can also pump my power all the way up to 5. That'll help. I don't want to lose that city. Is it worth it though to place literally everything over there? I think one army over here to try to take care of the desert tiles might just be worth it. Or I could, you know, travel across the sea to do something over there. It's quite a silly prospect. Think I should just fortify by getting power in cities. 2 points of power in cities. That'll help a lot. And just go this one. I believe I'm going to need to pump power, not get an army, not reduce waste, just pump power, which means another opportunity will go to waste. Shame. Okay, they move in over here to defend. There's a single Egyptian unit over there. Clearly, I'm going to defend, of course. I have 5 power, they have 10, but I have more armies. My territory over here to the south is shrinking rapidly. All grassland yield takes to have movement costs across grasslands. Not that many grassland tiles to move across, so let's not bother with that. And now I can immediately unpump power now that I'm safe and either deploy another fleet, giving me victory points right off the bat, or, more importantly, possibly just reduce power waste. And next turn I'll have enough wealth to once again reduce power waste. Now, of course, I'm threatening all these tiles. Presumably the Hittites will swoop in to defend. Or are they too busy attacking the Mitanni and the Canaanites? The Canaanites are about to lose a decent bit of territory at the very least. Unless, of course, the Egyptians give up on that conquest. By the way, I am all the way at the top. I am in first place. Little wonder, I guess. I'm doing reasonably well. Oh, and since I have this bit of territory, I might as well fortify over here so I don't keep on losing these tiles. But then, of course, I'll have to worry about losing that city. But that's a decent thing to worry about. Let's see. Oh yeah, speaking of that, might as well get some more power at sea. Or do I want to get more food? Oh, those yields, the siren call of the yields. Fine, let's get 9 more units of food every single passing turn. Save up the wealth for further reduction in waste. And basically put pressure on the exact same tiles. Largely. Yes, this seems to add up. The Egyptians swoop into the east to attack the Canaanites instead of defending over here against me. So they'll take some territory away from the Canaanites. Fair enough, this has been bisected, so this becomes no man's land, as I have mentioned previously. The Canaanites are having a rough time, but aren't they always? They have 2 cities, one on this island that I will not pester, and one over here. They're holding on for dear life, as they usually are. I could hypothetically try to go for the Year of Plenty, but I tend to get threatened all the time, so let's not. I could try to own the majority of coastals. Is that even possible? How many? I would need to have 66 coastal spaces all around, and then I would get 11 food per turn. That is incredibly tempting, but I don't think it's going to happen. I would play so as to make that happen, but I don't think it actually will happen. And meanwhile, I would just occupy this little slot over here, basically indefinitely. So no. regretfully, I think I'll just reject that. Right. I have reduced power waste even further, and next turn I will not have enough to reduce it so much so that I'll be able to proc the barracks opportunity. Not quite yet. Not quite yet, I am afraid. But with all the power I have from the power tax, I should be able to take a bit of territory from the Egyptians, which I don't mind one bit. I could also position myself to get even more yields in terms of food. Those yields are oh so desirable, but I might... No, let's get that and have that out of my hell. Let's be done with it. And from now on, I'll largely focus on power tax. I could hypothetically get some yields off of those forest tiles, but it's largely useless. The Egyptians will have to put in a decent bit of effort to defend over here, so I don't think they'll actually actively make much effort attacking. But I don't know. We shall ultimately see. Do I fortify over here against the Egyptians, or do I fortify against the Hittites? The Hittites are such a threat, such a menace. No, let's try to defend against the Egyptians some more. Don't think I can bolster my power any further. I hope I don't lose an army over here. Things go haywire. Hope against hope. Let's see how this plays out. Of course they swoop in to defend. But I will get this tile anyway, at the very least. They have 10 power. Oh, I won't get this tile because I don't have enough power at sea. Since I didn't get that power. Despite wanting it so much. Alright. They will destroy my city if I do nothing. And I can't reduce power waste this turn anyway. So fine, let's swoop in over here and position my troops so as to desperately try to defend the city. I think 4 units ought to be enough, especially if I pump power. I could try to get power in cities, but I think 2 points are enough. I also am not desperate enough to try and get yields off of forests. I think I'll do fine without that. In which case, I might as well invest in power at sea, as I ought to. And at this point, I am given a choice of either plopping down new cities, or possibly growing existing ones. I think I'll put down a couple of new ones. Might as well. This will not really defend my territory all that much, so I might as well put them inland cheaply. Losing some of those precious grassland yields, I'll grant you that much, but at the same time gaining 2 citizens. Nothing to sneer at. It brings me closer to victory. A bit closer to victory. I need 9 more to get 2 victory points. And then, of course, I need another army to get that. From which point on, I only need to save wealth, as I have stated numerous times. I defend here easily. They try to defend over here. They'll threaten this bit. A single tile has been threatened. Fair enough. I could get the zoo for a victory point. Not the worst of ideas. I'm about to proc mathematics. Wait, hold on. So I just need to get 1 more citizen to proc mathematics to get barracks. Should I get the zoo instead of the courthouse? But the courthouse is so handy. The courthouse allows you to save up wealth, and that's one of the victory conditions I wanted. I guess I'll pass up on the zoo, even though it is a magnificent value proposition. I can just get a victory point. And... a victory point. I would have to get 6 more. No, I'm not taking the zoo. Never mind that. I am, however, getting an additional citizen. So marvel at that. Hold on. How do I even begin to go about this? I think I might take science of every single citizen. But first and foremost, let's set off this chain reaction. I am going to grow the tiniest city that I can grow over here, which procs mathematics, which allows me to reduce any waste I pick. I'm going to reduce power waste, which procs barracks, allowing me to accumulate power more easily, which clears out 2 opportunities, leaving the courthouse. I can pump power all the way up to 7, but I can also just proc courthouse right here, right now. So wealth is no longer wasted to any extent. Yes, my power goes down to a mere 5, but 5, I believe, is a lot anyway. Let's put some pressure on the Egyptians, even though they are at 10 points of power, which sounds pretty overwhelming. Also, if I want another army, I'm going to have to save up, drop to 4 power. Fine, I'll live with that. And if I want all those precious power techs, I might as well, possibly, get science of citizens. Next time I'll have 149. Just not quite enough to get the sort of things I want. I could get power in islands or something. Or, you know, I could trade the tiniest of bits to get some science. Oh, but I do want a fleet oh so much, don't I? Fine, let's save up so that I can get another fleet. This seems reasonable. Will I get the territory off of the Hittites, I wonder? Oh, the Egyptians, they might possibly, if they destroy this army, I'm going to be distraught. No, they've kicked it out. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, pikeman or the battering ram? I don't think I'm going to have 9 armies at any point. That's not gonna happen. So, pikeman it is then, I guess. Lasts 5 turns. And it grants me that single stable additional point of power. Quite value. Oh! And I see that the Egyptians are desperately trying to kick me out of the sea. Well then. Thankfully, I can assault them quite a bit with all my fleets. Yes, I need a national fleet to go with this. Which I can barely not afford. Ugh, I've underestimated the power, I guess. Can't even get power at sea. I could hypothetically get power at islands, or I could save up and get... Can't get wealth off of citizens, not yet. Unless I trade 312. Quite expensive. I'll be able to get that. I'll be able to get a national army. I'll be able to get quite a bit. Fine, let's do that. Anything to grow? And not if I want to move my units. How's the power situation with the Egyptians? They are in first place. That's mighty annoying. Yes, they are going to lose this tower unless they do something. And they do not have fleets. So I'm going to take the sea tiles away from them, and that's what they can do about it. What about the Hittites then? How are they doing? 3 power over the 2 points of power. So I may as well move my units over here, retake this sea tile. Get all those precious sea yields I also desperately desire. Send the turn. See what they decide to do. They swoop in to the east over here to attack the Babylonians of all the factions. And to obviously squeeze out the Canaanites, who have lost 2 armies and now are sitting at a single city. The sitting ducks, as I'm concerned. And of course the Egyptians have left a single army to defend against me, which I quite frankly find disrespectful. The Babylonians have acquired the first victory point. For what? For power attacks of all things. Preposterous. I am threatening this tile as well as I should. I am getting that fleet to take sea tiles, which of course bestows upon me 2 victory points. Bolster my power over there. Put the hell town over here. Get more wealth out of every single citizen I have. And subsequently stop trading for science. Instead what? Save up wealth? What do I need and how much of it do I need? I need 8 more citizens. So food, and then I need money saved up. That's it. Do I just trade for food then? I could hypothetically conquer, wouldn't be the worst of ideas. In fact, it would be quite a reasonable idea. Do I bolster my defenses? No, I think I'm just going to build more cities. That seems to be the way to go. the few more cities that I still can build. I'm also going to pump power just the tiniest bit, mostly to get those sea tiles. I'm not going to keep on pumping power the rest of the game, it's just not worth it, I get it, but I'm going to pump a bit. I can take the sea tiles away from the Egyptians, and there's basically nothing they can do. I see the Hittites are defending over here, and they are defending effectively. The Egyptians have swooped into a single unit to defend over there, but they cannot possibly expect to defend the sea tiles near the coast. Own the mole fleets, then armies. I would have to get 2 mole fleets, that's not gonna happen. The Golden Age is also unlikely to proc, but it's not impossible. Do I desperately want to try and defend against the Hittites? I could try. They are about to kick me out of this territory. Don't fancy that happening one bit, but there's little I can do about it. I could also get the power tech victory condition completed, at which point, if I get the population up, which I will, I'll be at 5, and we'll just need 2 more victory points. Which won't be particularly trivial to get, so I might as well give up on that idea entirely. Let's proc whole soldiers. That takes a little bit of this, a little bit of that away from me, but all the same it rewards me quite handsomely with power. And as much as there's a number of things I would like to do, I want to take those sea tiles. I know that the Canaanites over here are busy threatening me, but I really don't want to add to the pressure they're under. They have enough of their own problems as things stand, don't they? Oh, the poor unfortunate Canaanites. Do I actually want power techs in any other type of terrain? I could hypothetically get some in the grasslands, or possibly plains, just to be able to defend myself over here, to protect my existence and this little army that has been shunted left and right repeatedly. Or I could refuse to do that, save up science until next turn and get some power techs in the places where I already tend to dominate. Let's do that. I know they'll get... Oh, they won't get kicked out because the Hittites are busy desperately defending against the Egyptian assault on the city, against the siege. Well, I am all the way up at 10 power, even though the Egyptians are at 13, and I will get quite a few of these tiles. Unfortunately for the Canaanites, they were so weak they weren't even able to get these tiles off of me, even though I'm not defending them in the slightest. They have the single army and the single city left here. They live on 2 tiles. They are dead men walking. They are on borrowed time, and I've clocked in a single point on the Golden Age. Not that it's going to proc, not that it's going to happen. I could hypothetically try to get the Temple Complex victory point. All you know, I could push my luck, try to conquer some more territory from the Egyptians, but I'm not going to win that contest, am I? It's significantly wiser for me to just get the pop up and then save the wealth. Always has been. So I could hypothetically pump the power, it's not like it's... What if I got the city pop and then got my power all the way up to 18? Power overwhelming. I don't have to get the wealth, I could get the power. Of course, moving my armies doesn't really help. Doesn't really help me get those precious citizens that I oh so desire, does it? After all, it spends my precious food. Alright then, so where do I get those power techs? Can get power in desert cities. I guess I'll just wait until next turn, won't I? Pumping power all the way up to 14. What is this madness? Okay, let's see what happens. They swoop in to defend, but they might... no, they won't threaten this because I have my unit over here nearby. And I do take territory away from the Egyptians. And threaten the city and some of the desert. It's under siege. Of course it is. I have it surrounded over here. It's encircled. 4 units. Eliminate an empire. Unlikely to happen. Or spend 200 science for a temporary boost to power. Okay. And that puts me at 19 power. Which means that I just need a couple more citizens. And just like that... I'm going to win through sheer brute pumped power. I really don't need to pump it that much. Let's see now. Could get a new city over here. That's 2 citizens. Worth it. Absolutely worth it. Move these guys over here. Those guys over there. Should I trade for food? Well, I am over here desperately trading for food. Those bonuses will go away soon enough, won't they? 2 turns, 5, 3, and 4. I can do this, and I ought to do this. I'm trading for food. I will get those citizens. I just need 3 more. Then I'll pump my power, and then I'll win. I could also get the city. I will get the city, won't I? Would I have gotten the city had I... No, I don't need to pump power. I've stopped pumping power entirely. I'm all the way up to 15, and I have conquered this city. Slingers for more power. Yes, please. Oh, I can't quite get up to 18. Not yet, not here. Fine, let's build a new city entirely. Right here. Is this it? My city pop is all the way up. Wait, I can proc slingers. Putting me at 18 power exactly, meaning that I proc this. Oh, and just like that, I fulfill the criteria, don't I? That is it. That is enough. Oh, and of course I could hypofet... What do I even want to get? What sort of power tech? I would like power in deserts, but that's not gonna happen. Fine, give me food out of the desert. Extract it somehow. This is going to be it. This is going to be victory. I have my armies and fleets. I have my city pop. They won't take that away from me. And the reason I was able to secure that was because I've conquered this little city. Now, granted, when you conquer, 1 citizen goes away. So it used to be a 2-pop city. Now it's a 1-pop city. But a 1-pop city that belongs to me. Plus the 2 citizens over here means that I have enough. And with the power criteria fulfilled, I'm just going to end the turn. And let it be known, far and wide, across the civilized world, that not only have I conquered these silly little tiles and defended where I could, I've also won. Unmastered, no less.
Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
With an easy faction, granted, with an easy faction, but I have prevailed. With, of course, 7 victory points that were required. Here's the power chart. I was all the way up there most of the time. The Hittites and the Egyptians have jostled for the position over there. Sometimes they were at the top. It was rough going up against them, but ultimately I've prevailed. 7 victory points, 3 of those for having 18 power, mostly because of opportunities, which I uniquely get as a human player. Then there are, of course, the Amazon fleets, so the Colossus. 7 of them or more, 30 city pop or more on the pyramids, that's it. The Egyptians had the Temple of Artemis, so 12 power decks. The Hittites had the Temple of Artemis, so 12 power decks. And the Assyrians had the Temple of Artemis, so 12 power decks. You might notice a pattern here. Notably, I did not proc that. But I didn't need it. The Elamites, Mitanni, Babylonians, and Canaanites were tied for last place, for 5th place, with absolutely no victory points. But, through some miracle, the Canaanites have managed to survive until the end of the game, and I think that's an accomplishment in and of itself for them. Either way, thanks for watching, and you will see me elsewhere.